Welcome to the podcast. Today we're diving into a fascinating take on Middle Eastern geopolitics, as laid out by Professor John Mearsheimer, discussing Israel's and Iran's plans amidst a backdrop of failing war strategies in the region.
I'm excited about this discussion. It's really intriguing how Mearsheimer unpacks these plans, right?
Absolutely. Mearsheimer, a well known political scientist, really brings forward his perspective on how certain miscalculations in regional strategies have left both Israel and Iran grappling with unexpected consequences.
Yeah, right. And it's interesting how he ties in not just military considerations, but also the influence of external political pressures, especially the Israel lobby.
Exactly. His analysis, in a way, throws a spotlight on how the broader political influences shape these flawed strategies. It's like, have you ever seen a chess game where one player keeps making aggressive moves only to be outmaneuvered?
That's a great analogy. And yet, one might argue, isn't it a bit of an oversimplified view? I mean, there are multiple layers to these conflicts beyond just overt political influences.
True, and that's a fair point. Mearsheimer does focus on structural issues and power plays, but his approach does sometimes seem to lean towards attributing much of the strategic failures to external lobbying influences, which can feel a tad reductionist.
Yeah. So, are we saying that his framework missed some internal nuances of the regional conflict?
In a way, yes. His framework is designed to show that despite well laid plans, both Israel and Iran find themselves in what's almost a strategic cul de sac, largely because the external forces and lobby pressures twist policy outcomes.
Right. And it's quite interesting that this video was posted recently, June 30th, 2025, and has already stirred up discussions online with hashtags like John Mearsheimer and Israel and Iran.
Yep, that's right. The video on Financial Wise brings this insight right to the public's attention. It not only highlights his academic credentials, like his distinguished role at the University of Chicago, but also sparks debate on how lasting these external influences might be in reshaping the region's fate.
I noticed the view count was still relatively modest, like 497 views, which suggests that while the analysis is rich, it's reaching a niche audience that's deeply engaged with geopolitical discourse.
Exactly, which is pretty typical for in-depth academic discussions online. It's not mainstream clickbait. It's for people who really want to dig into the nuances of foreign policy imperialism, power balance, and strategic miscalculations.
Right. Now, I'm curious, how does Mearsheimer link Iran's strategy in this analysis? I mean, it's not just Israel facing strategic issues, but Iran too, correct?
Yes, precisely. He argues that Iran's plans also reflect a sense of desperation and a reactive posture. It's like each side is so entrenched in their own strategic loops that they miss opportunities for de-escalation.
Yeah, so it seems that Mearsheimer's take is that both nations are, in a way, locked into an endless cycle of overextended strategies, partly because of these external pressures.
Correct. And what's compelling is his notion that war, as a whole, is failing in the Middle East, everything from military misadventures to political miscalculations. And here's a point to really ponder. Strategies built on outdated assumptions are now unraveling in real time.
Interesting. Now, do you think his analysis adequately addresses the dynamic nature of modern asymmetrical warfare? I mean, the Middle East isn't a static chessboard anymore.
That's a good question. While he sets a solid stage by highlighting the static structures, like the entrenched roles of lobby groups and strategic miscalculations, some critics might say he doesn't fully capture the fluidity and the evolving nature of modern warfare tactics in the region.
Yeah, I see that. So, would you say his analysis is more of a cautionary tale about relying too heavily on old paradigms?
Exactly. It's like, imagine trying to navigate a digital age with an old map. You're bound to run into dead ends. He's urging policymakers and observers to rethink these strategies.
Right. And does he provide any alternative outlooks on what might replace these failing strategies?
He hints at the need for realignment. Instead of, continually escalating tensions, there should be a pivot towards diplomatic engagements and more agile, context-driven strategies. Though, admittedly, he leaves a lot open for debate.
That open-ended nature is what makes the discussion really lively. It presses the audience to think critically about the future, not just for Israel and Iran, but the entire Middle East.
Yep, and it's also reflective of the broader discussions with many political scientists and strategists around the world who are questioning traditional power dynamics. His points push the envelope on re-evaluating long-standing assumptions about warfare and politics in the region.
Uh-huh. While we're on the topic, I must say, even though his insights are sharp, sometimes they feel a bit too dismissive of the internal factors affecting these nations. In what way do you see that being a limitation?
I agree. For instance, while he thoroughly addresses the international pressures, he seems to underplay the domestic political complexities that greatly influence both Israeli and Iranian tactical decisions. You could argue that this deep-rooted internal dissonance plays an equally significant role.
Yeah, that's a fair critique. That's what I find most noteworthy, how layered and multifaceted these issues are. There isn't a one-size-fits-all explanation.
Exactly. And it's that very complexity that makes debates like this so engaging. It makes me think of how a seemingly straightforward conflict can quickly morph into a labyrinth of historical grievances and modern geopolitical clashes.
Totally. And it also shows us just how important it is for analysts to balance both structural and internal factors when predicting outcomes.
Precisely. Mearsheimer does an admirable job of challenging prevailing narratives. Even though his emphasis on the role of lobby groups may not cover every internal nuance, his call for a reassessment of outdated strategic frameworks is incredibly timely.
Right, absolutely. It's a reminder that while powerful external influences matter, we can't ignore the domestic dynamics that inevitably shape policy.
Well said. And when you think about it, the video being hosted on Financial Wise, with its focus on providing concise yet rich geopolitical context, really makes this nuanced debate accessible to an audience that may not have deep academic backgrounds.
Yeah, that's key. Speaking of accessibility, do you think this kind of analysis can influence policymakers, or is it more about public awareness?
In my view, it's a bit of both. While direct policy shifts might not happen overnight, increasing public discourse on these issues adds pressure on decision makers to reconsider entrenched strategies. And yeah, public awareness can, in the long run, build
Absolutely.
momentum for change.
For sure. It's fascinating how content like this can trigger more critical thinking and debate among both the public and experts.
Definitely. It reminds us that sometimes a compelling analysis, even if it's imperfect, can open up pathways for, a more robust discussion about future strategies and peace initiatives.
Yes, indeed. Well, this conversation has really shed light on some profound aspects of Mearsheimer's analysis. It's a rich blend of historical context, external influences, and the ever-shifting nature of modern conflict dynamics.
Exactly. And while there are layers yet to be unpacked, his perspective provides a vital starting point. It's like a call to not rest on old paradigms and be ready to think beyond traditional strategic boundaries.
Right. Thanks for this deep dive. These discussions remind us that, even when war strategies fail, the dialogue around them must evolve to pave the way for smarter, more adaptive solutions.
Absolutely. And it's been great unpacking these critical insights with you. Till next time, keep questioning, keep dissecting,